In the first Anuvaka, the first paragraph, we saw Shiva or Rudra's Manu anger. And then we did prayers to make him Shiva. So from being Rudra, we made him Shiva or peaceful Shanta. Then we saw what are the various myriad powers, that Shaktis, that Ishvara has, especially the Samhara Shakti or the power to destroy. Because anything that is created at some point of time has to be destroyed, and for that destruction you need a Shakti. So Samhara Shakti is characteristic of Rudra, and as Samhara Shakti, Ishvara manifests. But the same Shakti, Samhara Shakti, is also protecting. How? Because by destroying that which is redundant, old, and which has lived out its time, has got to be destroyed to make way for the new. So therefore, Samhara Shakti is good for the next generation or the next set of new things that come, but it is destructive for the one which has to become obsolete. So therefore, when does this Samhara Shakti apply to a particular entity? That Samhara Shakti depends on the dynamic of what is known as the Karma Vipaka. So it's a Karma Vipaka is a technical term. Karma Vipaka means the manifestation or the maturation of the Karma Phala. When the Karma Phala has matured and it has to take place, nothing in the creation can stop the power of Samhara Shakti of Ishvara. So this is what we saw in the first Anuvaka. The second Anuvaka, the Dvitiya Anuvaka, we saw the various forms in which Shiva manifests in the world. In the third or the Tritiya Anuvaka, we saw the nefarious ways in which he strikes. So when the Karma Phala has matured, and at that point of time when the strike has to come, it will come in different ways. As a thief, as a robber, as a murderer, as a killer. So when we say if a human being kills another human being, we look at it as a crime. But what about when a disease strikes a person? Whom do you sue? Isn't it? And that is Ishvara's Samhara Shakti. So we will now get into the study of the Chaturtha Anuvaka. The fourth Anuvaka is Shiva is going to manifest, or in other words, Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means Prati Aksha. Aksha means sense organ. Prati Aksha. To every sense organ, he will become visible as many groups or ganas, as tribes, as castes. So each one of them bringing both a favor and also a destructive activity in this society. So there is a principle that is followed in this Anuvaka. There are threefold lordship of Shiva that you will see in the fourth paragraph, Chaturtha Anuvaka. One is Kriya. Kriya means activity. 2, Guna. Guna means qualities or nature or attributes. You will see that. And 3, Dravya or things and materials. So the uniqueness of the fourth chapter is threefold lordship over Kriya, Guna and Dravya, we will see. So that means the measuring of how a group has to be formed. How do you make things into a group? You try to organize in things which are harmonious with each other or which are complementary to each other. That's how you group them. So for this grouping, what is the principle? Suppose we say all the grains form a group. So the grains have to have a characteristic. What characteristic? It must have an activity or a kriya. So most of the grains are somewhat circular in nature. So if it is dropped, it actually rolls away. So there is a kriya or it provides you proteins. So some characteristic or kriya is there, some guna will be there, and it is also a material. That means each grain will be distinct from the other grain. So this is the style of classification. So this fourth chapter shows how the various groupings are done according to kriya, guna and dravya. Some of them are very easy to group and some of them are difficult to group. So what is the most apparent meaning at first reading of the fourth Anuvaka? It is representing Shiva as groups and collections. There are 17 mantras in this fourth Anuvaka. So how do we determine each mantra? When it is embedded between two namaskaras. So nama avyadhinibhyo vividhyantibhyascha vo namaha is one mantra. Like that we have got 17 mantras. The first of the mantras, nama avyadhinibhyo vividhyantibhyascha vo namaha, refers to the female forms and Stri Shaktis. Especially Stri Shakti, which is punishing, killing, harmful. So avyadhinibhyo means some Stri Shakti which is going to pierce us from all the sides. Vivyadhinebhyo means who forcefully strike in different ways. So please make sure you don't call anybody as avyadhinebhyo, vivyadhinebhyo. Nama uganabhyah drigam hatibhyasya artrigam hatibhyasya, but the Yajurveda form is trigam hati. The word is trimhati. See, gam is used specifically for Yajurveda. So nama uganabhyah. Ugana means, gana means group. Ugana means a superior group. Nama uganabhyah means superior, most superior group. Which are the most superior groups and at the same time most threatening group of female entities? It is the Saptamatrikas. So here Uganas refer to the Saptamatrikas. So who are these Saptamatrikas? Amarakosha, a beautiful lexicographic work, describes the 7 Saptamatrikas as Brahmi, Maheshwari, Chaiva, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Tatha, Varahi, cha Tathendrani, Chamunda, Saptamataraha. So this is the classification of the 7 female deities, groups of deities, 7 deities. So there is a little bit of a cultural aspect also to this. Especially in the tradition of Adi Shankara, all the mathas that were established by Adi Shankara, the presiding deity is always a feminine deity, one or the other form of Devi, of Durga. For example, in Sringeri it is Sharada, in Kanchi it is Kamakshi, like that in each one of the kshetras established by Adi Shankara, there is a Devi. In all these Devis, during the Navaratri, the Devi Alankara is done with these 7 Saptamatrikas starting from Navaratri day 1. For example, in Sringeri, on the first day it is Brahmi Alankara and so on and so forth. And on the 9th day, so on the 8th day, so we have 7, and this 8th day, that is Durgashtami day, the Alankara done is Raja Rajeshwari. So the Saptamatrikas are actually violent in nature. They were actually created in the following way according to our Puranas. Brahma's anger manifested. That is why Namaste Rudra Manyave. That Manyu or anger came from the eyebrows, between the eyebrows of Brahma. When that came out, it was in the form of a Ardhanari. Ardhanari means half hermaphrodite. half man, half woman. And this half man, half woman split itself into two. And then each one of them, the male principle, became the 7 forms and of Rudra, and similarly 7 forms of Rudranis were formed. This is the Puranic story. But it is also metaphorical, because there are 7 ways in which the power is expressed. And the Saptamatrikas are also related. See, Uganas, one word, has got so many internal meanings. One is the Saptamatrikas, it is the 7 powers, and it is also the 7 alphabet groups. The 7 alphabet groups of consonants. So, Ka, Kha, Ga, Ga, Nga, it's called Kavarga. That is one Matrika. Then you have got Cha, Cha, Ja, Cha, Nya, starting from Cha. So, Kavarga, Chavarga, Tavarga, Tavarga, Pavarga. And then Ya, Yara, Lava, Sha, Sha, Sa, Ha. And you have the Ksha. So, all these add up to 7. So, when you have these 7 groups of consonants only, no meaningful construction of words can be done unless it is coupled with a vowel. And the vowels, akaradi, aha, a to aha, is called Rajarajeshwari. So it is only when this Rajarajeshwari who is Swara. So what do you mean by Swara? One who is completely satisfied with oneself. It is from Swara, also the word Swarga comes. One who is completely satisfied with oneself. So this Swara, that is Rajarajeshwari, is combined with the 7 Saptamatrikas, it becomes Ashtamatrikas. So therefore Rajarajeshwari is also extolled as Matrika Mandale Mandita. That means one who is honored in the Matrika Mandala. You will see a lot of iconography of these Saptamatrikas wherever you go. If you are visiting Halebeed in Karnataka, in the Halebeed temple, there is the Saptamatrikas, individual iconography is there starting from Chamunda. I will share with you some of the pictures. And a couple of years ago, we were in Orissa. We were traveling Orissa. Specifically, we went to see all these places. In Bhubaneswar, there is a temple called Parshurameshwara temple. In Parshurameshwara temple, there is a frieze. In this frieze, you will see the exact depiction of the Saptamatrikas as you will see in the Rudradhyaya. So as I promised many times, I am collecting the iconography which represents each and every one, or at least as many as I can find, of these epithets. For example, Nama Ushni Shine. So there is a form of Shiva as Ushni Shine in the Tanjore temple. So in each one of these temples, I am collecting how to map the names of Rudradhyaya into iconography. So Bhubaneswar is a classic example of many forms we get of Rudradhyaya. So these Uganas are the Saptamatrikas, and then actually I will also continue when we do next week, that each one of these 17 mantras relate to one or the other aspect of our own personality. So I'll connect this to yoga. The Uganas are actually representing our buddhi, the intellect, because among all the chitta vritti means turnings of the mind. Among all the chitta vrittis, the most powerful, formidable chitta vritti is that of buddhi, is that of the intellect. And therefore, Ugana is now actually connected to the buddhi vritti. So we will see how all these 17 mantras represent the various aspects of the human psyche. Then Trigamhati or Trumhati means the fierce female deities or Ugra Devatas. So among all the deities, we have three kinds of devatas. One is Saumya devatas, then there are Kshudra devatas, and there are also Ugra devatas. So here in this Anuvaka, the sage is talking about the Ugra devatas. Kshudra means they are actually Vamachara, and then when you are using voodoo, black magic and voodoo, you invoke those female deities. And therefore the Sanskrit word is Kshudra Devata. Saumya Devatas are Lakshmi, Saraswati, where we worship for auspiciousness. And that is why we are discouraged from worshipping the Kshudra Devatas. Ugra Devatas are worshipped in specific times, for example in Navaratri. Other than Navaratri, we do not worship these Saptamatrukas. Or unless you are a Tantrika. See, that's a different thing. In Tantra practice, where a person uses Tantra for the good of the world, so they do use these methodologies. But that's just informational, because we are not going to practice all that. Namo gritsebhyo gritsapatibhyascha vo namaha. Gritsebhyaha. See, again, you can now map it to mind. Gritsebhyaha, etymology is gardhanashilaha. That means they are covetous, always seeking sensory pleasure. So those groups who always look for sensory pleasures are called gritsebhyaha. And of course there will be a leader for them called Shiva or Rudra and gritsapatibhyaha. So here is an interesting connection also. In the creation, when the creation took place, Vishnu Purana talks about the manifestation of Brahma from the navel of Mahavishnu. And Brahma's anger, with that came out the Ekadasha Rudras. These Ekadasha Rudras are known as the Manobhimani Devatas. Madhvacharya talks about these Rudras as those who command our mind. So the Manobhimani Devatas, born of Brahma's anger. So these Manobhimani Devatas, for example, Manu is anger, Manu means determination, then you have Kama, and then you have Dhritavrata, that means commitment. All these things are also represented. 11 of them are represented. Namo Vratebhyo Vratapatibhyascha vo namaha. Vrata or Vratyas are supposed to be a group of people who have abandoned all the norms of society. So there will be a group of people, this is mostly referring to Brahmanic and non-Brahmanic activities. What do I mean by Brahmanic activities? Brahmanic activities means the population which honors the Varna system. That means Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, classification according to Guna and Karma. So they are all within the Brahmanical system. That means they will follow the proper procedures. The scholars and the learned people study and teach, so on and so forth, which we have talked in many of our classes. Those who don't confine to any of these rules and they behave themselves according to their own whims and fancies are called Vratyas. In fact, in our house, my grandfather used to call us as a Vratya if we did not do Sandhya Vandana and Gayatri Japa on that day. So that is a standard way in which we used to be blamed. So they will be watching you. You have done Sandhya only for 5 minutes, so you have become a Vratya. So there is a technical definition for that. That is, any son born out of the union of the same Varna. Same Varna means Brahmana man marrying a Brahmana girl, begetting a Brahmana child. So if that Brahmana child does not follow the Brahmana's style of life, similarly Kshatriya, then such people are called Vratyas. So our Lord Shiva is the Lord of all the Vratyas. But anthropologically, there were a group of clans called the Vratyas. So there is a lot of speculation that these Vratyas were the original Vedic people who migrated from Asia Minor and all that. As you know, that whole theory is blown. It's no longer true. The Vedic people were indigenous. They were all in India only. And in India they did meditate and came out. But a huge group of Vratyas are there in parts of Bihar, around the Magadha, and there are around Gujarat also. And most of these Vratas or Vratyas worship an elephant-headed god. See, that is why in Ganapati Atharvashisha also and other places we say Namo Vratapataye. So the Lord of Vratapati is Ganapati. So Vratyas or Vratas are not to be condemned. We may even call them as a little progressive. Because sometimes if you continue the same style of life for centuries and centuries and centuries, there may be no progress. So the Vratyas by themselves are not bad. Only thing is that if flouting all the rules without any rules is what is criticized. So Namo Vratebhyo Vratapatibhyascha Namaha. So we'll continue in the next class. Shanti.